Hi everyone, good evening. Well, it is evening at the moment. It's 8:15 where I am at the moment. I'm in my study in London, and by the way, excuse the mess. This is a new study. I'm still setting it up. I've got some shelves over there that I need to put on the wall behind me and put all my books in there. In front of me, I've got my whiteboard with all sorts of paper stuck in front of it. I can't actually move my camera at the moment because it's got all sorts of cables plugged in. I've got that. I've got my screens in front of me, and I will be able to show it to you someday. But not at the moment because it will kind of disrupt this video. But what I wanted to do is share my story with you on how I actually got to be good at what I'm doing and how I actually get to live my life. I mean, this year I've been away for about 6 weeks on holidays, and I've got another 3 weeks planned. Um, so I don't think it's a bad thing to have just over 2 months out of 12 to be on holidays and enjoying myself. It's just an amazing thing. So I really appreciate you watching this, and I just wanted to let you know what actually got me through to where I am today, how I got started, and what I did go through to where I am today. So um, I've actually been. I come from a country that was ravaged in war, and I actually had to leave my country when I was 18. And I've been on my own since I was 18. And I can't say that it's always been a smooth sailing. It actually took some 20-something years to actually get me to where I am. Not in the stuff that I'm doing now. The stuff that I'm doing now has taken me about 10 years. But prior to that, I have been going through all this sort of different permutations and cycles of what I was doing and changes in my career and all sorts of things. So literally, since I was 18, I had to fend for myself and feed myself and do everything myself. I didn't have any support from my family, and I literally had to work. I actually worked in construction for a bit, and then I worked in restaurants for over a year and a bit, and all that sort of thing before I come into England. When I came to England, I actually started university, so I started studying, and the reason why I started studying was because that's the way that I was conditioned. So although at the restaurant that I was working in, it was an Italian restaurant, I became a very good cook in a very short space of time. I started running a restaurant. I was doing actually extremely well, but it wasn't something that I really wanted. Although I do love cooking, don't get me wrong, I enjoy cooking all the time. But it wasn't something that I wanted to do, and I always wanted to study. And I actually, the reason now I realise the reason why I wanted to study is because I wanted to prove my parents and my family that I can actually do it. Because during my teens, they always said to me that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I won't be able to finish my studies, therefore I should be choosing some sort of a trade. So they forced me to go down a particular route which I didn't like, and therefore I rebelled, and that's a different story anyway. But anyway, fast forward, I finished my studies. It was also a struggle to finish my studies because I was doing something that I wasn't actually enjoying that much, and um, I kind of been influenced by other people a lot. I never thought, uh, I never thought for myself. I actually was always taking what other people were telling me. And although I actually got good at it, I was never great. So I studied computing science, and the reason why I chose computing science is because I was looking up to my brother, because he was very good at programming. He was doing really well, and I kind of wanted to prove that I can also do it. So, and I did it. I actually managed to finish my studies. It was great. I got my first job, and then I got made redundant. And what happened? I went into this depression a little bit. So I couldn't find another job for a year and a bit, and I was really struggling. And then eventually I found a job, and I started working, and I worked there for a year and a half roughly, and then I didn't like, and this was, by the way, in another country, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the organization that I was working for and the job that I was doing. So I actually then moved back to England. And at the time, that's what my other half was. So my wife was in England and I was abroad, and that wasn't working. So I said, like, no, stop this. I need to actually get my thoughts together, get my life together. I came back to England to be with my wife, and I needed to find another job. I needed to find something. I needed to provide for my family. We didn't have kids at the time, but I was still struggling with finding a job. Having come back to England for about 7 months, I didn't find a single job. Although I was doing some bits and bobs, but nothing major. Previously, I had tried with a university friend of mine to start up a company, and we did, but it actually didn't get us anywhere. We only had like two very small jobs there. We couldn't support our families with that. So I was struggling in my head on what to do, and eventually got a job, like a very low paid job, um, working for a local government. And that was the only offer that I had, so I didn't have much of a choice. I actually had to take that one. But it was actually a very good step, because from then on, I kind of never looked back. Well, there was another period that I had been struggling, but it will come to that. Anyway, so I took this job, and then I used that one as a leverage to get me to a desired job. And I got a desired job in the city. I always wanted to work in the city of London, in the financial centre, and I always wanted to do that. And eventually, I landed this job with a big insurance company, and I thought, like, this is it. My life is sorted now, and it wasn't. Like 2 years later, I went through a restructuring, and lo and behold, they made all the developers. I was working as a programmer at the time and developing websites and developing systems, online systems, and they made all the developers redundant and moved all the development to India because it was much cheaper at the time. So what happened, and this was in 2008, 2009, when actually the markets crashed at that time. I'm pretty sure you've heard a lot about it. But during this time, it kind of I knew that I needed to do something else. I knew that I needed to get out there and find another plan B and C and D potentially. It's just to kind of, if I find myself in this situation again, to have another fallback plan, if you like. And I knew that I needed to do something else. Yes, I was good at cooking. I was kind of a very good chef at the time, but bear in mind this has been like good 15 years probably, I think it was, since I last worked in a kitchen. So I thought to myself, okay, so that's not the way to do it. I'm not going to go and open a restaurant. So what I wanted to do is, like, when I was working for this insurance company, I actually was listening to like the yearly sort of biannual reports by the CEO. And I kind of got hooked into this investment world because that's what they were doing. They were investing all their profits into the markets. And literally that got me hooked, and I wanted to actually learn a lot more about it. And I actually really wanted to do that. So I said to my other half, it's like, I really need to learn this. I said to my wife, I think we can actually make it by doing this way. So I went online and I watched a couple of videos, and I downloaded a couple of books and bought another two or three of them. And I read all of them, watched the videos, and I thought, like, look, I'm a guru. And you know what it is, beginners, like 2 or 3 times you invest, you make money, and then bang, it just goes down the hill. And all the money that I made, I lost, and I lost some more. And then I said, this can't be it. I mean, there are people out there are investors, there are traders that look into the market, and they are actually making a very, very, very good living out of it. I just need to learn how. So I embarked on it. I actually stopped trading and stopped investing at that point. I said, like, this is it. I'm going to have to stop this. I need to learn. I need to educate myself. And in order to make money, you need to start somewhere and have a little bit of cash. Right? You can't just start trading with pennies. It doesn't work. So I said to myself, I need to actually invest in education, first and foremost. So I started working, and all the money that I was making, all the surplus that I was making, I was setting aside. And so that I could go into the education. So I actually then found somebody that that taught me how to trade. And literally, I was a mentee, and this is trading, not investing. And look, then I became good at it. But to do trading, you have to be on the game all the time. What I wanted to do is actually, without having to give up my daily job, I wanted to actually be able to invest and actually invest for long term. And that's another thing that I wanted to do is actually, having seen. By the way, I forgot to tell you that I actually used to have an investment advisor, and at one point I actually thought, like, let me actually have a look at how much my portfolio has grown. Having read all the books and educated myself, and through this mentor, having looked at how to invest and in the markets and diversify in the markets, I looked at what this investment advisor had done for me, because I didn't have a clue previously. And then I looked at it and said, like, this is rubbish. All it's doing is taking my money, my hard-earned cash. So at that point I said, like, okay, stop. Right, I'm going to actually start investing my money myself. And I've moved all of my pensions into one particular pot where I can actually invest myself. And that's story for later on. But I knew that I needed to learn, so I actually had a plan on what I needed to do. But during this journey, I was actually introduced to other people and other coaches as well. I mean, I was introduced to Tony Robbins and Russell Brunson and Marcus Di Maria and T. Harv Eker, and I went on to these seminars. And although I was actually doing really good for myself, I kind of said, like, I can't just hold this one only for me. My desire and my values is actually about sharing this knowledge with others and being able to coach others. So that's what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to teach others. So and that's how I came about this idea of actually setting this coaching program up for you guys, so that you can actually live the way you want to live your life, and ticking all those items on the bucket list. I mean, one of the things that I've done 2 months ago was 3 months ago, I went to Australia, and yes, it's controversial, but I climbed AS Rock. It has always been on my mind, and that's when I was at the most peaceful time that I was ever in my life, and I've achieved these things that I actually wanted to have in my heart, and that's what I wanted to do. But throughout this journey, it's like the reason why I started in investment was that because I wanted to prove everybody wrong, and I've actually done that. But during this journey, I actually found myself, who I am and for what I stand, and the values that I want to, and my towards values, what I feel that I've come on this earth, the purpose of my life. And I know for a fact that for me it's about teaching others and empowering others to make their own investments. So just to go back to the story where I was talking about my investment advisor, I realized that he was siphoning quite a lot of money through hidden charges. Well, I say hidden in inverted commas because they were laid out, but nobody actually understood. I for one didn't understand at the beginning when I signed up for him to invest my money. I didn't understand what I was signing for. But having actually educated myself and having had a mentor on this, I actually learned a lot about what I need to look for. And that's something that I thought, like, okay, so the investors, the way that they actually make the money is not through investing themselves, it's by actually charging fees on for the investments that they were making. And when I looked at it, it wasn't actually a major return on investment that he was making on my behalf. But what he was actually doing is I was still charging fees. And 2 out of the 7 years that he was investing my money, 7 or 8 years, I can't remember on top of my head now. But two out of these 8 years, I realized that he was actually losing a lot of money. So he ended up making up that money back in the latter years. And I thought, like, well, surely this can't be it. I mean, I was looking at how the investment was working for the last 100 or so years, and at the minimum, he should be making about 10 to 12% per year. and it wasn't. It was making like 3 or 4% a year. And that's what got me going. I actually pulled all my money out of that and started investing in it myself. And I actually learned the hard way. It wasn't smooth sailing, but I think the biggest thing that I've done is actually throughout this journey is not only have I achieved um, the level that I wanted to achieve, but I also transformed internally, and now I'm actually happy. And I know what makes me happy is when I actually coach others and I see that sparkle in their eyes when they actually get to see their investments grow, and that's what it is. I mean, this is my story. So if it is something that you're interested in, let me know. I'm here for you. Over and out.